Hey, Christmas is coming. Do you have all your preps?1 week. No. 2 days to our 10-year anniversary.
Ho, 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 ho.
Madam Speaker, the American people have spoken. They have fired you and have chosen to end the Democrats' one-party rule throughout our government. The days of this chamber being treated as Pelosi's house instead of the people's house are over.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is December, SHTF at the zoo. Welcome one, welcome all. We've got Ooman in the trenches with the mighty blue wrench, and we've got Jolene behind the scenes, keeping it clean back there. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot of different topics. Have you been to the club to see what you need? I mean, always. It's like, what do I get my husband? What do I get my wife for Christmas? Well, really, folks, I mean, we all like to get like the cute little gizmos of the day, but a really good knife. Men like knives, even when you have too many knives. Every time I get a knife, I'm like, I really needed that. Thanks. And so my sons were good at getting me knives. That's when I got the tactical tomahawk. I thought, oh, this is a big freaking knife. I was just, yeah, now that's a knife, but it turned out to be a tactical tomahawk. Loved it. So yeah, going to the club, getting what you need in this time of giving. Give the gift of prepping. And I wanted to thank Oliver for giving me this angry beaver with the little Christmas coat, because you got to keep your beaver warm and dry. It's just not a good scene when your beaver gets wet. Anyways, I just love having this little guy around. Makes me happy. But folks, it is Sunday Night Live, and Sunday Night Live means you get to direct the show. You get to decide where we go in the discussion. You get to do super chat donations. And it keeps me right here in the prepared bunker. Folks, the Get the Fuck Back fund is still going, and it's still going strong. It's keeping me, well, you could say, well stocked with Spam tuna and scotch. And tonight I'm drinking a hot toddy because of the season. And it is in this Second Amendment. Let me see. There we go. The Second Amendment. This was a gift. I've got some of these whiskey tumblers from Ooman. In fact, I've got a nice collection of them. This one came from Penelope. Thank you. And this is the very real deal. Made with that scotch from Who's Your Daddy? Delicious, folks. I hope we keep the Christmas spirit in our hearts, while we keep SHTF in our minds. Now, I said you can tell me what's going on in your mind. What do you want to talk about? And by hitting that super chat button here or doing a PayPal donation or a Cash App donation. And those links are down below. You can, folks, bring this show to life and bring it about what really matters. Thank you, Jolene. She's all over it and feeling the Christmas spirit. Well, it's the season of giving, folks, and I'm going to give you some good shit right now. Coming in from Darcy T, right? A $50 Christmas super chat donation. And she says, good evening, John. Folks, buckle up. Strap yourselves in. This is some serious shit. She says, anyone hearing about the Human Meat Project, an organization that promotes voluntary cannibalism to fight world hunger? Is this where we are headed? I have no intention of becoming long pig. Now, I don't know whether Darcy is showing her age and my age, but long pig is a, shall we say, a complimentary description of human meat that cannibals worldwide have given it. They've said, yeah, human flesh tastes a lot like pork, right? So we, as tall, much taller than pigs, are long pig. But yes, the Human Meat Project is gaining momentum. As surely as the Democrats and these minor attracted persons and these drag queens and the LGBT freaks are pushing for normalization of sex with children, it's going to hell in a handbasket. Cannibalism to fight world hunger. Well, if we just eat each other, then there won't be a food problem, will there? That's what they want. Can you imagine? Let's play sci-fi. Imagine coming to a planet. You're in a little spaceship and you're just cruising along through space in your spaceship and you're like, hey, look at that cool planet over there. And you get down into low planet orbit and you're looking around and you're like, these people are living and they're also eating each other. What the fuck is going on here? And you just turn right back out into space. Now let's play a religious movie, right? You're an angel and you're just kind of sailing along, right? Flapping your wings and you're like, yeah, I think I'll go check out Earth, see how them humans are doing. And you get down here and you're like, why are these humans now eating each other and accepting it as normal? What is going on? I'm going to go have to have a talk with the big guy back upstairs, right? I can't imagine any example of any mental process that says the most intelligent, advanced, dominant creature, culture, and system in a living environment would say, let's eat each other. Now, I'm going to tell you what, folks, this is acceptable to Democrats because they are a bunch of eco-terrorists and they think it's cute to feed people things that they shouldn't be eating, like fucking factory-created meat, bugs, and even other humans. Wait until they start telling you that there's nutrients in excrement. That's right. We've all heard of the expression, well, I guess it's a big shit sandwich and we're all going to get a bite. Wait until they do that. Oh, there's so much protein. Oh, yeah. We can convert all of those proteins in shit and turn it into food. In fact, man, I think that actually came up several months ago, didn't it? Somewhere over in Asia, I think they're promoting that concept. Unfucking believable. And I've discovered that the 30 caliber round that's embedded in this glass actually keeps your hand from slipping. All right. This is just unbelievable where these are going. Darcy has hit on something. The only culture, folks, the only philosophy, the only mental perspective that accepts the idea that if you're powerful, you should hurt other people and exercise your power, that you should take advantage of innocence Children are the innocents among us. Only Democrat, socialist, communist scumbags want to feed people shit and bugs and excrement, period, as well as cannibalism. These are the same people that think that it's cute to have after-school Satan's Club. They think it's cute for children to kill themselves, for children to maim themselves, for children to deny their very existence. It's hit the fan, folks, big time. It's hit the fan big time. Self-mutilation, they're all for it. Name one part of what I just mentioned that isn't evil. And at the same time, ask yourself, what brand of political belief system wants all of those things? Taking advantage of innocence, taking advantage of the weak, pushing and lording your strengths over everyone, forcing them to eat garbage, locking them in their homes, forcing them to take medications that don't help, sexually abusing everyone they can, especially children. That's how sick these people are, folks. Darcy T, number one, thank you for the great super chat donation. Number two, thank you for starting out this program with such a boomerang, right? You're like, I'm going to throw this one, and it just comes back and hits you because you can't stop thinking about it. The Human Meat Project. I don't know what part of the Human Meat Project, folks, is good. All right. That's where we're at, literally, folks, with these Democrats. That's where we're at. And if you dare question them, you end up with something like this. They were having drag queen hour yet again in Washington, the state of Washington. And a conservative journalist decided to show up and start asking some questions about having drag queen story hour, which is where you send your children to go spend time with gender dysphoria having men who want to dress like women, overtly sexualize themselves for the purpose of humor and sexual gratification. Now, I get a kick out of humor. Well, this conservative journalist decided to cover it and was assaulted by Antifa, violent leftist Antifa. Antifa, who the President of the United States says, that's just an idea. There's no organization called Antifa. Never mind the fact that they have chapters at every college, chapters in every big city. Never mind the fact that they have a universal flag that is not only in America, but around the world. Not only is it a modern thing, but it's been around since, you got it, since the 1920s. They use social media to cooperate, to coordinate, and to communicate. And they are all about violence, folks. Yep. So now they're starting to assault people again, and it will get worse. This is your show, folks. If you want to talk, it is your chance. I'll make you famous. Read your question up here. All you got to do is hit that super chat button up here or the ones down below. And that was, I believe, Venmo, CashApp, and PayPal. But for now, who is up next? We have, holy cow, a Subscribe Star. A Subscribe Star member has tossed another $20 in the Super Chat kitty. And he says, hey, John, is there any chance of a connection between an arms dealer being released and all those fresh arms in Ukraine? Say a government looking for cheap oil. Okay, so what we've got here is we have Brittany Grinner, whatever the hell her name is, the women's professional basketball player who was stupid enough to take marijuana to Russia and get locked up in jail, found guilty years and years. Well, the United States government, rather than, free and work with Russia to free, shall we say, honorable Americans, veterans, they decided to really get Brittany out. That was important. So they traded an arms dealer, a gun dealer, right? I mean, this guy, he's got a terrible moniker, right? A lousy name. And wow. Yeah. Right at a time. Now, understand this. Right at a time when the United States government, NATO, the military organization or military alliance, the European Union, Britain, and other countries are sending lots of arms into Ukraine. Now we have a world-class international arms smuggler and dealer who has been released. It's unusual and it's odd and it sounds strange, right, that this would be happening because he's a Russian, right? Now, you brought up an interesting point, Kevin. You said maybe a government looking for cheap oil. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to leave oil out of this. But I'm going to say, how about if that international criminal, the arms dealer, who the Biden administration just released in exchange to get back the LGBTQ role model, how about if they pay Joe his 10%, to the big guy? Hey, no matter what you do, you're out and you're free, but I want my 10%. That sounds to me more like it. I don't know if we can get cheap oil for letting out an arms dealer, but I bet we can get a standard 10% override commission on that shit. Oh, by the way, for those who wish, you can buy me an 18-year scotch. I don't know. What price? Ooh, man, what price shall we put on a shot of scotch today? See if we can get me lit up. Because I'm lit. I'm looking at you. I'm not going to put you on screen, man. $500. $500. No one's going to pay $500 to get me a shot of scotch. We're going to hold off on that for now. And instead, I'm going to go with Tomika Gomina sent a $25 super chat donation through CashApp. And I got to get up early. Yeah, you got to get up early. That's why you said 500, so no one will buy it. Oh, by the way, yeah, you buy me a scotch and you buy Ooman a double. Anyways, Tamika, thank you for the awesome donation. What I need you to do is if you've got a question, comment, statement, observation, a prediction, anything you want, get it in the comments here on the YouTube, and we'll get to either Ooman or Jolene to pull it out, and we'll put it up on the screen. It's a great donation, $25. Thank you, Tamika. Anyways, wow. I can't believe it. In 2 days, 2 days marks literally 10 years. On the 13th, it'll be 10 years that I've been here broadcasting saying, chance favors the prepared mind. Are you prepared? Aren't you glad you're a prepper, right? Anyways, we got all kinds of shit, folks. All kinds of shit. Now, we got a problem with Elon Musk. He's continuing to stir up the shit, and I'm starting to feel like he's kind of like Trump in a way that he causes a lot of commotion, but I don't know if anything really big is going to happen with it. Anyways, he came out with something very provocative over the weekend. And at first I saw this, I'm like, this is a joke, right? Because, we had Senator Ted Cruz say, my pronouns are kiss my ass. So there was a Twitter came out, and I thought someone, photoshopped it, said, my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Turns out it truly was Elon Musk. And he's going to supposedly release the Twitter files on Cerveza Bug and Dr. Fauci. I wonder what has been twittered and tweeted about. Maybe private messaged that Elon Musk has. I sure hope he releases it. I remember when Trump was president, he's like, I've got all these papers, I've got stuff on these guys, and then he never released it. This is like 2 years into his administration. He had papers, he could have released papers on the Kennedy assassination. It didn't happen. I'm tired of all these promises, kind of like, who's that other guy? Ooh, man, who's that guy that got arrested He's the being held in England, blonde-haired dude. I can't remember. Name totally escaped me. Julian Assange. I kept hearing we're going to get a dump. We're going to get a Julian Assange dump, right? We're going to get a WikiLeaks dump. Never happened. And then we get something and there's really nothing in it. I'm tired of these false promises. Give me some fucking meat, some real steak. I don't want any bug steak or any bugs. I don't want any human meat. I want some real steak on one of these things. If his pronouns are prosecute Fauci, well, damn it, let's see it. Let's stop playing around. Make it a real Christmas, for real. Now, following this Elon Musk thing, ex-CIA boss and superb lying piece of shit because he works for the CIA. Name is John Brennan. I believe John Brennan is also a converted Muslim and communist. How is it that the head of the CIA can be both Muslim and communist? Anyways, he's gone after, and believe me, just because he's former CIA doesn't mean he's powerless. Right? This is one of those sayings where, nobody ever leaves the company, but he threatens to release Fauci files on deep state. Elon Musk does. So John Brennan is going after Elon Musk. It's great. If we're going to have shit, it's the fan. Let's get it on, get it out there. It's coming, folks. This is the season for giving. And I hope Elon Musk gives us the real deal, gives us some real meat and potatoes on Fauci. Everyone needs to wake up. Now, I'm about to get to your super chat donations. But speaking of beef, this is important, folks. Right? Where's the beef? The United States Department of Agriculture is hinting that there's going to be a beef shortage coming. And I am going to argue with it. We do not have a beef production crisis in the United States of America. What we have is a government crisis in the United States of America. We have manufactured after manufactured crisis. Now, if we'd never had a bad winter, if we'd never had a bad summer, if we never had weird weather, if we never had any of that, and all of a sudden we had one, I'd say, okay, it's possible. But weird weather hits cattle ranchers, it hits, crop growers, it hits everyone all the time. All the time, people are getting hit. The hell was that? Whatever that is. All the time, we're getting bad weather. We're getting floods here, droughts there, and we've never had a beef shortage in this country in my lifetime. So why is it that now they're promising we're going to get one and that things are going to get even worse? At the same time, they want us to eat bugs. At the same time, they're making shit patties out of bug vomit. At the same time, they're suggesting we should eat human meat. I say this beef shortage the USDA is selling us is bullshit, right? We've had bad crops in the past. This is not a new thing. But they're going to push it, folks. Anytime they want. There's not a crisis. It's anytime they want, the government creates the crisis, whether it's a false flag or a money crisis. The things they have the most power over and control is where they tend to operate, right? Controlling parades. Whoops, bombing there. Schools are controlled by the government. Banks are controlled by the government. The stock market is controlled by the government. The military is controlled by the government. So that's why we see so many false flags in those arenas, because they have control. There was not a problem with our economy until Hank Paulson showed up in 2008 in Congress and said, there's going to be blood in the streets tomorrow unless you start giving out money. We had a huge crisis. The day before, no one felt the crisis. The crisis was created, folks, by the words. Now, understand me, the economy's fucked up. The monetary system's fucked up. But did you hear anything about a crisis yesterday or Friday or Thursday or Wednesday? No. All of a sudden, though, if someone comes out and says something, now it's a crisis. It's because they've manufactured it. They've turned their perception into our reality. Okay, I'm going to have me a little sip of hot toddy here, and then Jolene is going to toss up a super chat donation. We got Luke Thompson with a $10 super chat donation. And does he have a question? The answer is yes, sir. He says, before it happens permanently, we should all turn off the electric for 24 hours and find our vulnerable spots. I think that is actually excellent evidence, Luke. Excellent indeed. Now, what does he mean by that? Well, they're promising to turn off electricity. Well, they've been screwing up the power grid in California, New York, Illinois, some of the bigger electricity districts. Down in Texas a couple years ago, we had that little snafu in the winter. Found out, yeah, there's some problems by having wind and solar power in a fucking ice storm. Whoops. And then just last week, we had North Carolina hit with a bunch of jackasses shooting what? Transformers. This is something anyone could do, folks. Anyone could start that. And then lo and behold, we had some copycat action out in Oregon and Washington State. And then over the weekend, I was scrolling through some news stories and I took a look down at the state of Florida. In Central Florida, from Orlando all the way over to Tampa, they had some incidents. I think Duke Energy is who they have down there, and they're being probed and fucked with. Right? We could lose power. So Luke says, hey, you better figure out what your weak spots are, your vulnerable spots. In other words, practice. SHTF practice. Right? Right now, light goes out. Right? Do you have flashlights? Oh, another great stocking stuffer, preparedmind.club. We have some killer flashlights, folks. They work great. That one snaps itself automatically onto my USB charger. This is another Olight product, right? Very small. This one plugs into a USB and it fits on your keyring. So big to small, attached to your rifle, your pistol. We've got all kinds of light. Let there be light. That's the last thing the bad guys want at night. Being able to blind someone at 100 yards. John Lord used to talk to me about that all the time. In fact, he got me this big old freaking handheld, spotlight. And I was like, I know what that's for in SHTF. Anyways, lights is one thing. Power goes out, lights. What about your phone, your communications gear? Number one, is it charged? Number two, do you have batteries? Communications gear, radio, ham, CB, walkie-talkies. Can you communicate with others? Do you have battery storage? So if you got solar panels, you have to charge batteries that store that power for you till you plug in your small refrigerator, your computers, your communications equipment, right? Your flashlights, right? When I was at the RMZ, there I have just a terrific solar-powered lighting system. Freaking amazing and awesome. That was another John Lord gift that he gave me and sent me out to the old RMZ with. It was incredible. Anyways, it was Jackery Solar. Thank you, Prepared Mother. We're kind of having a preparedmind.club Christmas drive. But yeah, are you ready? If the power goes out, are you prepared? How are you going to cook your food? When I was at the RMZ, Bonnie Blue 2A sent me out a solar oven. Didn't get to use it as much as I'd like because it got swiped. Anyways, those are great. I have other solar oven products as well. Folks, there's a lot of things that we need. And when you really need them, if you don't have them, you'll be sorry. Now, SHTF may be a 1 day or it may be a 1 week adventure. We don't know until it happens and everything goes really nasty, goes Mad Max on you. We just don't know. What I will say is if you're prepared, you'll feel the difference, right? Having 1 month, 3 months, 6 months worth of food, you sleep better at night when shit is not hitting the fan. And when shit hits the fan, if you've got food, you cannot even have to worry about it. Seriously, not even having to worry about it. Now, let's do this, shall we? We're up over 400 people live. We're 30 minutes into this. And we're going to go 90 minutes to 2 hours tonight, depending on how much you guys feel like talking. The President of the United States, folks, doesn't get this many people live, but you are engaged in a conversation that matters because we know what's going on out there and up there and back there. Governments are screwing things up around the world. These left-wing lunatics are making things worse, making it happen. So let's do this. Let's jump into it with another Super Chat donation. Really? Oh, yeah. Well. Chin Music has a picture of Hunter Biden. That fucking guy will not go away. In fact, he is back in the limelight attending social functions at the White House. So Chin Music does a $19.99 Super Chat donation. And he said, did fuck Joe Biden's radioactive drag queen become a luggage thief after being hired, or was it a prerequisite? Hashtag the more you know. I tell you, what he's talking about. First off, bottle of Glenlivet 18. Ooh, man, how much to buy you and me a drink? What's the donation? I've got him in a mini screen down on my computer here, folks. Flash me some hand signals. Give me some gang signs, brother. How much? He's saying $100. Okay, we'll go with that. It's an 18-year scotch, and if you want to buy a Christmas drink for me, that'd be cool. And one for Uman. Now, he's got to get up at like 2 in the morning, so it's really a great way to punish him as well. For all of you who don't like Uman, there's like 2 of you out there. So anyways, you guys know who you are. Let's get into Chin Music's question. The radioactive drag queen that fuck Joe Biden hired is a wonder. He's completely bald. He shaves his head. He's got a weird looking cranium to boot. He is, I don't know what his gender association is, but he likes to wear women's clothing. And then he also likes to have men dress with leather dog masks. For real. For real. And okay. So this guy, this radioactive drag queen, the reason Chin Music is calling him radioactive is because he worked for the Department of Energy in the nuclear waste department, rather handling nuclear power material waste. That's why he's called radioactive. He's not really radioactive. He got caught in Minnesota stealing some woman's luggage, intentionally pulling it off of a luggage rack, taking the identification tag off of it and stealing it. Had over $2,000. He's being charged with felony theft. The clown did it again in Las Vegas and is now wanted. There's an arrest warrant for him there as well. I believe his last name is Brinton. I think he was hired for being a radioactive drag queen, and I think being a kleptomaniac, stealing another piece of luggage with several thousands of dollars worth of value. I wonder if he's following, how do we put this? I wonder if he's following wealthy looking women and suspects that within their luggage are really nice women's clothes and jewelry. And then, yeah, he sees what luggage they hand when they check in, and then he grabs it off the plane. Right off the plane's luggage disbursement system. What a fruitcake, literally. Being a kleptomaniac is cool unless you're in public, right? Most politicians steal things privately behind closed doors. Anyways, let's get this number up here. The 411, I'd like that to hit 511. So text, email, call, write, carrier pigeon, get it out there. People need to wake the hell up and come on here. Now, the part about this radioactive drag queen is, his boyfriend, he likes to parade around literally wearing a leather mask with a dog snout on it. So he looks like a dog. He's called a pup handler. Well, get this, folks. This is not a small item. This is commonplace in Washington, D.C. These disgusting, perverted, satanic, communist scum think this shit is cute. A United States Army, a colonel in the United States Army, posed in his uniform. He posed in his army uniform in front of a flag wearing his pup mask. And there is a secret army pup kink patrol. Yeah, folks, they've been exposed. These are some sick fuckers. And they're in charge of the government in D.C. They're in charge of the military. So when I say they're disgusting, I can't imagine them, folks, doing something normal. Perverted, I can't imagine them enjoying a normal life. Satanic, definitely evil. Communist, without a doubt. And scum all the way. These LGBTQI types in government are showing us exactly who they are. It's not to be accepted. They're not normal. Why should we accept the thievery that goes on? Why should we accept the murder, the intrigue, everything that they're doing? And don't doubt me on the murder, folks. Don't doubt me there. All right, Jolene, what do we got next? We have Chester Wolf the Griffin with a $20 super chat donation. And your super chat donations keep the pantry full of Spam, keep fresh tuna all canned up, and keep me in a moderately good supply of scotch. And on top of everything else, we've got this mine is bigger than yours t-shirt, and it's going up for auction. And the auction starts at, Uman says $500. No, we're not selling a t-shirt for $500. I'm just fucking with you. We'll figure out what to do with these t-shirts yet. I got a couple things about. Let's auction it off. And, to spit in the spirit of the wild, Ted Nugent shirt. Mine's bigger than yours. I'm sure if you wore that out in public, you probably have someone call the police because it has the picture of a gun on it. And you know how threatened people are with that. In fact, get this. Over the weekend, I went with some friends, and we went to this little microbrewery thing. And they had like a second story, and it was all open windows up top, because in the South, you got open air seating at bars. Well, there was no one else upstairs, right? It's a small place, just me and some friends sitting around. And some guy came up and started asking where his friend was. And I said, we stuffed him in that trash can over there. He was bothering us. And this guy got really offended. And I thought, you got a lot of stupid going on, right? And he was like, you guys, you should just get out of here. You don't belong here. And I thought, boy, you want to talk about someone telling someone who shouldn't belong. These people are fruitcakes, folks. So Chester Wolf says, I recommend everyone turn off the power for 24 hours to find out what your weak points are. Our weak point, my mom's diabetic medication must be kept refrigerated. Solution, I keep a bucket of ice water wrapped in foam. I don't know anything about insulin except, the diabetic medication. You can't freeze it, I don't think, but it gets too warm, it spoils. Yeah, so keeping things at a proper temperature. That is why I like, and I had one of these at the RMZ, folks. It is the small mini refrigerator that can run off of your car. Once again, power goes out. You can turn your car on. You've got enough gasoline probably to run and keep a little refrigerator cool enough. You keep some ice in there. It's like an ice chest. It's not frozen. But hey, practice, practice, practice. The power goes out. How are you going to keep things like medication that has to be refrigerated safe? How are you going to keep your food from spoiling? Right? That's a big question. What type of food do you have? Do you keep a lot of perishables, or do you keep a freezer jam-packed full of frozen food so that if the power goes off, it can go a week or longer without thawing out? Understand that, folks. Just because you have a freezer doesn't mean it keeps everything at 32 degrees. you can turn that freezer down to 20 degrees, 18, 16, depends on what quality you get. But, you get something down to 20 degrees, it's going to take it a long time before it even makes it close to getting back up to 32. All right. And then you talk about thermal mass. Thermal mass. It's all frozen. It's going to tend to stay frozen. Thank you, Jolene. Now, last week we talked about the fact that the United States government traded Brittany Griner for Victor Bout, right? An international arms dealer. Russia truly is laughing at us. It made it into our media. It made it over here to America that Russia is laughing at America for being this stupid. That the U.S. government in front of the rest of the world is embarrassing itself. Right now, as mentioned earlier, could this have something to do with oil? Right. And the claim is that President Biden made this trade because he was trying to make woke points with his far left base and some sort of arrangement with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. You just can't help but choose. Is it for his personal 10% gain, or is it to try and win political points with people around the world? Well, everyone around the world, folks. Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, did not fly to Washington, D.C., so Biden could say, hey, you're going to sell us oil. The president of the United States flew literally halfway around the world to Saudi Arabia to be denied and embarrassed and bitch slapped and sent home without a thing. How many times have I told you, the president of the United States, the president of Russia, the president of England, you don't go anywhere until the deal is sealed. You go to another country. You show up at a neutral meeting place to sign on the dotted line that which is already agreed upon. So you're not embarrassed. These idiots continue to do this. And also, who is more important, the president of the United States or Mohammed bin Salman? Who is the bigger character? Who has more power? Who has more clout? Who has more gravitas? It should be the president of the United States. MBS should have been invited over to Washington, D.C., greeted with a proper reception. Now, I know that because of the whole Khashoggi thing, the journalist who was killed, folks, all of these countries, including the United States government, kill people all the time, torture them all the time. Don't kid yourself. But because of the Khashoggi thing, Khashoggi, whatever the fuck his name was, right? MBS is too difficult to have over here. Instead, the president flies halfway around the world, gets bitch slapped, laughed off, and told no and sent home with nothing. So now, releasing an arms dealer is going to make everything okay. Don't buy it for a fucking second, right? Right. Paul Whelan, U.S. Marine. He's been in prison in Russia for 2 years. Don't you think they could have included him in the deal? How about sending back someone with honor as well as Brittany Griner in exchange for this arms dealing madman? Just where we're at, folks. Where we're at. The world is laughing at Biden, laughing at Washington, D.C., laughing at the West. Right? It looks bad. It looks really, really bad. Let's do this. I know you guys have stuff you want to talk about. Super chat donation up here. CashApp, PayPal, Venmo. It's all down below. You guys are supporting this channel with what? Money, because it keeps us on the air, keeps spreading the word. And I want you to prep to action. Get prepared. Take action. Write your congressman. Do it. Email all of them every day. Send them a message. Tell them to obey the Constitution. Stand behind their oath and do what's right. Right. And also remind them to read the Declaration of Independence. It's pretty important that way. So we're getting close to that 500 people live, folks. Live. The New York Times had thousands of people, over 1,000 employees go on strike. They could only get 26 people to tune in live to their bullshit. So how much more powerful is this crowd? Meaning, how much more powerful is your super chat donation and your message? It is incredibly powerful. You reach thousands and thousands of people. So who's got, Jolene, one of these questions? And it is Yorktown with a $1.99 super chat donation. What has he got? He said, what reason would the Pentagon openly sanction Ukraine attacking the motherland of Russia? There's no advantage. What reason? The only one I can think of is they want to appear, that is, the Pentagon wants to appear as if they are honorable. They want to sanction Ukraine. They want to censor them. They want to tell the world how naughty they are for attacking Russia. The advantage is the Pentagon and the United States government gets to pretend like Ukraine is acting upon its own, when we know Ukraine does exactly as they're told. Exactly. And recall that Voldemort Zelensky, Times Man of the Year. Well, we better call him a person because we don't know if he's a man. We know he's lighting the loafers. But Zelensky, right, does as he's told. He was installed by the CIA back in 2014. That's right, folks. Shortly before, or rather shortly after I started this channel, there was the takeover by the CIA using their principal stooges in Ukraine to conduct a coup d'etat and a takeover of Ukraine. And they have controlled Ukraine ever since. Ever since then, yeah, 26 Uman or 29 biolabs. I can't remember which. Turn the 6 upside down, 26, 29. What's the difference? All these biolabs over there? Businesses, corporations. Let's see. Yeah, we had Hunter Biden sitting on the chair of Burisma, a huge energy corporation. Ukraine has a huge stake in the energy system of Eastern and Central Europe and Russia, since those pipelines run through Ukraine. Yeah, that makes a great idea. Let's get a guy who dropped out of the military because of his drug problems, his continuing drug and prostitution issues, something about sleeping with his brother's wife. I don't know. How about some kind of stripper hooker? Not to mention snorting coke off a hooker's asses and weighing his drugs on a scale and arguing with another potential prostitute over the value and size of it. Yeah, let's put him on the board of one of Europe's largest energy corporations, because that just makes sense. Yeah, there is an advantage, Yorktown, and that's that the Pentagon gets to pretend that, well, they're decent over this issue, that they don't really have control. So anything that goes wrong, goes bad, they can just say, well, that's Zelensky doing that. Now, because the United States, England, NATO, and the European Union have been using the Ukraine and its people in a proxy war against Russia, I don't think anyone buys that Ukraine should be sanctioned or have their wrists slapped for doing something that we darn well know wasn't Ukraine. And how do we know that? Because Ukraine doesn't have long-range weapons unless the U.S. gave it to them. And I don't think the U.S. is just giving them those long-range weapons because they take a lot of training to operate. So if they're being operated in Ukraine, odds are there are American, either private contractors or military personnel operating those weapon systems. And I don't think they're listening to some dumbass Ukrainian. They're probably listening to their masters. Let's move on, if we shall, though. Super chat donation. What do we got next, Jolene? I'm going to make you famous. We got Yorktown, and he got another one. Stack your food staples to the rafters and have your tools and accessories at the ready at all times. Within the length of a leg, I have enough ammunition to play the game of Code of Code of honor. What is the name of that game? The kids have these video games, they can run around and kill people all day long in their video games. But if you have real guns and ammunition and you're not killing people, you're the bad guy in this country. But they, look out. Anyways, yeah, everything is always close at hand with me. Always. It doesn't matter where I'm at. Folks, that means self-defense. Have food. Food will keep you alive. Have the means to purify water, because without water, you die quick. And then without guns to protect your water and your food, it's really not yours. Very, very good stuff. Thank you for that recommendation there. All right. Where am I at? Let us check real quick over here. I'm going to say this. I don't know when this is going to happen in our world, folks. I have no idea. Is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen today? Probably not today. Probably not tomorrow. Probably not this year. But at some point, it's going to happen. I think that Brazil is giving us a good look at what is going on in this world. There is some question about election integrity down in Brazil. And President Bolsonaro doesn't like what's going on. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, that patriotism has a high price. Patriotism has the ultimate price tag. Bolsonaro came out and he gave a speech. And here is a line from it. Quote, "I will give my life for my country. We will win." End quote. What does that mean? Well, in America, 200 odd years ago, it was said that the tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants. From time to time, right? Meaning everyone gets to die. To be a patriot, folks, you have to be willing to give your life for your country. Otherwise, are you really a patriot? That's the high price that many of us, well, for generations in America, people have been able to live without paying that price. Now, people that fought in Vietnam, fought in World War II, World War I, fought in the Civil War, fought in all of the wars going back to the Revolutionary War. They fought. They paid a price. Some paid the ultimate price. And it was in defense of country and our philosophy. What price are you willing to pay? Just a question. Now, the president of Brazil, who, according to the mainstream media, is about to become the former president, but Bolsonaro, he could just go away, folks. He could just give up and say, that's right, you commies win. Truly, folks, the communist wins. He could do that. And he could go live and he could be wealthy, live comfortable, no problem. But he's choosing not to do that. He's choosing not to go away. He's choosing to stand up and fight against what is happening. Because I think he is a patriot. And when you argue with communists, you do take a chance. You do put your life on the line, and you could end up paying that very, very high price. And folks, patriots die all the time, but patriots do not always win that which they seek. One side always wins and one side always loses. Are we going to end up with communism, or are we going to end up with free republics? How much further does this have to go before you and I get to say the same thing and ask the same questions that Bolsonaro is asking? Am I willing to pay that high price? We're not there yet. We're not there yet, but I think we're getting close, right? And for example, and I know we've got super chat donations coming. I know we're getting close to 500 people live, but get this, right? A lot of people say, well, it's not affecting me directly, so I don't need to worry about this, or I can live with it. How much are you willing to live with, right? Are you willing to live with human flesh under plastic in your grocery store being sold? What would you see if you saw human steaks? Literally, if you saw human flesh in your grocery store, Would you ask yourself, where did that come from? How old was that person? Is that a man or a woman? Is that a child? Are they going to have human veal? These are disgusting questions, folks, because we have disgusting people in charge, right? Can you imagine this pup handler in the military or the pup handler in the Biden administration, who they decide to pass a law where they can just take advantage of anyone they want sexually at any time? Or better yet, just steal your property at any time. If they can take your suitcase at the airport, why not just take your car from you or your home whenever they feel like it? Well, in New Zealand, if you don't let your child, right, get vaccinated blood for their surgery, the government just comes and takes your baby. At what point do people say this isn't going to happen anymore? Right? You're going to show up, you're going to take my child because I didn't want you putting an experimental blood back in their veins? No, thank you. Well, they're doing it, folks. They did it, and they're continuing to do it and continuing to push this idea of eating bugs, eating human flesh, and allowing you to be, well, continuously and perpetually victimized by these scumbags, and that your children can be sexual toys for them. And you can't do anything about it. And if you try and talk back, they'll just send Antifa after you. That's right. You want to show up at one of their little drag queen story hour, and if you want to counter protest that or ask questions, Antifa will beat the shit out of you. How much more, folks? How much more? I mean, we've got this, right? This is a big one. In Australia, they've seen a spike in death rates, right? 17% more. Well, that's not too bad, John. It's not, right? They went and they have an extra 18,671 deaths, more than their historical average. No big deal. No big deal. So we had 1/6 more. To me, that's a pretty big fucking deal. Does it need to be double before people pay attention? Or triple? Or quadruple? Right? Their death rate has spiked, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Yeah, only 17%, John. No big deal. 1/6. Who gives a shit? I give a shit. Right? At what point do we say you guys have pushed us way too far? So they've started investigations in Australia. Geez, what went wrong? I can tell you what went wrong, but would they do anything about it? Would they do anything about it, right? I mean, just this last week, right? The dean of a private school was caught on video bragging about giving butt plugs to elementary school children. And guess what? The school is in full support of him. These are some sick bastards, folks. Sick, sick bastards. When are you going to stand up? When are you going to start taking action? Okay, we're here and we're all preppers and we're aware of everything that's going on. You're prepped. Prep to action. Are you going to write an email to all of your congressmen and other congressmen you think should hear about you, whether or not they're in your district? Whether or not they represent you directly, they're representing other Americans. Whether or not they're even in the same political party as you, when are you going to start yelling at these people and saying, you know what, you're a bunch of sick bastards, and we see you and we know what's going on, and you can't hide. They're out there, folks. They're out there. All right, Jolene, who do we have next in the Super Chat donation field? We have Margie O with a $5 Super Chat donation. And do we have a question? She says, thank you, or thanks for your broadcast. So you're welcome, Margie. Like I said, I've been doing this. We're right on the cusp of 10 years. And it started out with, we could have an earthquake. We could have a grid down. We could have an EMP. We could have a coronal mass ejection. We could have nuclear meltdowns. We could have war. We could have an invasion. We could have crop failures, right? We talked about the different things that could happen. Back then could happen. And what is the response of other human beings, and what does being prepared mean? That's where we started. What should we have in preparation? And over the last 10 years, we've gone and said, okay, now we know what you need. We can see how long things can go out for. Power can go out for a day, can go out for a couple of weeks. They're promising us food shortages, and that's continuing. They're promising us fuel shortages. They're shutting down pipelines. They're starting wars. They're threatening our enemies. Right? That's why we know that we should be prepping. We know that we should be taking actions on our own behalf. We know that we should be helping other people by sharing the internet address up here and saying, you need to wake the hell up. You better get prepared. This shit is getting nasty. We know all these things. And so we continue. And Margie, thank you for being here. Right? We get new people all the time. As quick as YouTube tries canceling this show, right, we get new people coming on board all the time. And that's great. It's fantastic. More people need to wake up. Right? I live this day in and day out because this is how I live, day in and day out under this. And it doesn't drive me nuts. My brains aren't melting down. I just keep track of what's going on. There's just way too much going on. Unbelievable. And I got this, right? This is here's another one, the climate bullshit, right? When they had the shooter exercises where all these schools were getting shot up, and that David Hogg, that little dipshit, David Hogg out there trying to get kids all upset. They tried getting kids to take their guns' parents away. It's for the kids. The kids are afraid of living. The kids should be afraid of their teachers making them take butt plugs home. Right? What's a bigger threat, school shooting or having your genitals cut off because some teacher talked your kid into it? Or taking puberty blockers? Or identifying as another gender, or making a gender up, or claiming to be an animal or an alien or whatever. What's more dangerous for your kids psychologically? Having a gun in the house to protect yourself against these left-wing lunatics? Or having a child in your house being exposed to all these left-wing lunatics at school? Which one is more dangerous? Anyways, then they got into the climate thing with Greta, the little climate Grinch, that little Swedish bitch. How dare you, she said, because her parents have given her their version of reality. So Biden has his climate czar, folks. Former senator, former administration member under Barack Obama, former presidential candidate John F. Kerry. That's his climate czar. He says that United States wealth, money, should be used to pay other countries climate reparations. That's right, folks. Your tax money should go to other countries because of climate reparations. The word reparations is getting way too much legitimacy, folks. It's being bantered about way too much. Right? I mean, I think they got rid of slavery in America permanently back in 1865? 1865? 150 years ago? 150 years ago. So we should pay people for what was done to their family members maybe 150 years ago and back. Well, what about my people? What about my people who suffered under a climate emergency? That's right, folks. Back in the year 1000, 1,000 years ago, back in the year 1100, 900 years ago, my family were sailing around North America and the North Atlantic and sailing over into Europe. That's right. The Vikings were sailing everywhere. And somebody screwed up and caused the climate to change. And we got this thing called the Little Ice Age. And my people, the Vikings, well, they suffered because the climate changed. And that's 1,000 years ago. So any money that's owed me needs to have 1,000 years worth of interest rate applied to it. So yeah, you may claim that your family was hurt 100 years ago or 150 years ago or 200 years ago, but mine was hurt 1,000 years ago. Maybe I should get even more money, right? Because of the climate. Yeah, John Kerry, where's my climate reparations, buddy? The Vikings really got screwed on this whole deal. You see, you go, what? how do you substantiate that humanity caused what happened 1,000 years ago or 800 years ago when the little ice age started? I go, well, where's your evidence there's any fucking climate change now? I mean, they got so tired of arguing with everybody over whether or not there's climate change that they just said it's consensus. We have enough scientists now that it's consensus, and therefore it's fact. All their evidence is can't be discounted. Their climate models, their data. Right? When you look back at real history, we had this little ice age. The Thames River in London froze over in 1666. They were growing grapes before that in England, which had never been done before 1,000 years ago. Who caused all these climate changes? But we're going to pay other countries because somehow what's happening today is our fault. What a bunch of hooey and bullshit. Folks, if you think that's not bad at all, right? Hell, I'd rather pay a climate tax than have my genitals chopped off by some wackadoo. And speaking of wackadoo and making stupid decisions, let's play, hey, let's take a wild freaking guess. Sponsored by the Jim Jones Juice. Actually, this show is sponsored by you guys, and I want to thank you for it. Again, we're almost at 500 people live, folks. Almost. Let's get there. But, right, you guys have sponsored this show for years and years. Super chat donations, private donations, working behind the scenes, gathering information. We have Mr. Skylight, Bonnie Blue. We have Cottage Farm. We have Nikki and many, many others. See, once I start naming people, I know I don't name them all, right? But we got a lot of great people. We got Rami Marsh over in Europe. We got our men in Scotland, England, and Ireland. We've got people up in Canada and then down in Australia that donate to the show on a regular basis and make sure that we keep coming back every week, that the lights are on, and that, of course, we have Spam and tuna fish. Anyways, those are the real sponsors of the show. This sponsorship, this is my satire. But what I'm going to tell you right now is true, and it's not satire. In Colombia, a soccer player, 22-year-old, folks, died while training and died suddenly. Once again, that word, suddenly, right? If you're feeling bad in sports, are you going to run out in the field and kill yourself literally by exercising too hard? Or do you feel normal and everything's just fine? And then they run around and then, pow, they just keel over. Once again, we have an example of that. Take a wild freaking guess. Another super athlete. Folks, in nations like Colombia, in nations like Brazil, in nations like South Africa, in nations like, well, England and all of Europe, soccer, folks, is the shit. Right? We got World Cup soccer going and all that lately. These are their very best athletes. And they get them out there battling it out. They are the best shape of their lives, the best shape that country, the best athletes the country can put forward. And wow, they're just going to start keeling over. How many soccer players? How many tennis players? How many bicyclists? How many marathoners? How many, folks? How many dozens? How many hundreds? How many thousands? How many thousands of children end up injured? And just now, Australia's like, maybe we ought to look into the fact that there's more deaths. The American Medical Association, the AMA. How about the American the Heart Association? All the people having heart attacks. Well, we're just going to call it SADS, sudden adult death syndrome, and we're just going to leave it at that. Yeah, we don't know what it is. Hasta la vista. I don't think so. All right, we got a super chat donation, says Jolene. So let's see what it's all about. And we have William C. with a $5 super chat donation. He says, how much more can we take? I am approaching my breaking point. The corruption, gaslighting, which is lying, and lies can't say any more on this platform. Thanks, John. William, I don't want you to say any more than that. We don't need to say anymore. We just need to be prepared. Now, what is going to help you keep from stretching to that breaking point and going over it is the fact that you're prepared. You have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You have a plan. You understand and you keep up here and other places on the internet on a daily basis with what is happening. So you aren't confused. You aren't scared. Now, remember, the single greatest human motivator is fear. And people always use the term, well, it's the fear of the unknown. If you know what the hell is going on, you don't have to be fearful because you're informed. If you fear where your next meal is, you're going to act out. As a prepper, you've got food. If you fear for your life and your safety of yourself, your family, and others, you're going to act out. Right? But if you have your own self-defense in mind, if you become, right, your own grocery store, your own bank, if you become your own police, your own self-defense, then you don't need to be afraid. You can be concerned. You can be aware, but you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to act out of fear, but rather act intelligently. There is going to be at some point, folks, a breaking point that many people hit. And it's going to be when all of a sudden, yeah, there's no meat in the store, or there's no fuel in the gas stations, or the lights have gone out. Now, if people hear on the news, right, they're sitting there and the lights have gone out. And so they take their little radio out. This here is the C Crane emergency radio that I have. I just keep handy for the purpose of the show, right? It's got a little hand crank there to charge it, right? It's got a little solar thing. It's really cute. It gets the job done, folks. You don't got to spend thousands of dollars to get the job done. But if I've got this and the power goes out, right? It's also got a handy little flashlight on there. Got to have flashlights. Anyways, if you hear on the radio that, well, the power's out and it's out in this specific area, it's going to be out for a day or two, you're fine. What if, folks, the power goes out, you turn on your radio, and there's no radio stations? And you tune up and down the dial. You tune, and nothing comes in. If you're not a prepper, you're going to panic. Holy shit, the power's out. There's no radio stations. Where am I going to get my food, my fuel, my water, my medicine? Who's going to protect me, my family, my neighborhood? Prepper's got all that taken care of, folks. By the way, yeah, all the radios and communications gear we have at the preparedmind.club, good stuff. I recommend it because I bought it. I recommend it because I use it. Understand this, folks. You get a CB, it says it's good for 50 miles. Probably isn't. But it's certainly good locally. If you get walkie-talkies that say they're good for 10 miles, they're probably not good for 10 miles. Right? That's best case scenario. What a world. If you turn on your radio and a channel comes on, and it says the entire country is blacked out. We don't know how long we're going to be able to operate this radio station. We've only got another hour's worth of electricity because of our generator. We're running out of fuel. You're going to panic. You're going to be scared unless you're fully prepared ahead of time. That's why it is so important, folks, to be a prepper now, not when things get bad. And there's a lot of people. I've seen them when storms come. I've seen them down south, and I've seen them, folks, in California. And I've seen them in, shall we say, very remote jungle climates. When things go wrong, people, they tend to wait to the last second to take action. And they rush to the stores. They rush to the stores and they fight with each other and they scare each other. Look out. Do you want to be a part of that? Well, I certainly don't. I really don't. I don't think it's a smart idea, right? We got a lot of stuff going on, folks. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to take us into what's going on with government, the military, and our children. All with just one story. Tucker Carlson this week interviewed a mom, and she did not like what she saw in her child's school. And so she made a big deal out of it. Right? And a high-ranking military official ended up calling the police. So here you have the military, the government police, the government school sexualizing children, and someone wants to do something about it, and it all comes raining down on them. Luckily, she did go on Tucker Carlson and got her story out. Right? And I say, so being a concerned parent whose children are being groomed by school employees is a danger, a threat to a community because the parent might commit a violent act in response to a groomer's actions in school. That's right. This military official was so concerned about a mom thinking that she was going to do something violent and hurt some school official. Well, it used to be that, child groomers, sexual predators, molesters, they wanted to be arrested when parents found out, because otherwise they would end up, getting dragged down a gravel road, on a rope behind a pickup. Right. So I say, protect a perverted pedophile group from a potential violent mother. That's more important than stopping the groomers themselves. And this is what is implied by a lieutenant colonel's actions, folks. Yeah, the military official is a lieutenant colonel. Who did I mention earlier in the Army was a pup wearing a pup mask in his uniform, posing in front of a flag? Right? Way to go, Army Corps of Officers. Yeah. The Army Officer Corps, full of a bunch of perverts, pedo groomers, pedo protectors, and pups. Unfucking believable. Uman and I have a little discussion from time to time and have some fun with it. Talking about people who call and say, it's Armageddon. Armageddon's coming. The apocalypse is upon us. The end of times, the end days. Well, this happens with every civilization, folks, every empire. Right? They become decadent. They give in to, once they've grown, they've reached their zenith, their maximum growth, their maximum intelligence, their maximum technology, their maximum cultural expansion, and then they collapse. They succumb to perversion and corruption and decadence. The Romans, our civilization, prior to that, the Greeks, but the Persians, the Egyptians, they all do it. I'm not going to say that this is Armageddon. I'm just saying, right? It's the same story. It just doesn't have a religious bent on it. Keep your perspective, folks. Right? Keep your perspective. Keep your faith. I got no problem with that. But keep your head on your shoulders. Okay? The moment I see human beings sprouting wings and flying up to heaven, that's going to be one heck of a good day. Until I see that, I'm going to keep my feet firmly on the ground, my head firmly on my shoulders, and my brain firmly between my ears, and being prepared for the shit that's happening. Jolene, we got some super chat donations. Who do we have next? Who am I going to make famous? We got Bonnie Blue 2A with a $19.99 super chat donation. She said the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, on Saudi Arabia are going to be trading oil in yuan. Bank of London is about to issue the central bank digital currency pound. How long before the U.S. petrodollar falls and cash is dead? Okay, what we're referring to here with oil trading in yuan. Yuan is the Chinese currency. That is their dollar. So why would Saudi Arabia want to sell oil for yuan? I mean, they've been accepting dollars for 50 years plus. Well, right, what is the dollar worth? Well, it's worth what people think it's worth, right? It's not based on gold. But it looks like China has an awful lot more gold than the United States. They don't have a gold standard, but they're flirting with the idea, just as the Russians are and many other countries. But no longer is Saudi Arabia and China going to need dollars to do business with one another. What's going to happen to all the dollars that Saudi Arabia has and China has if they don't need those dollars for their oil? Well, they'll buy whatever they need in America with those dollars, probably real estate, something real that they can buy. America doesn't make much else other than that. So those dollars are going to come home and be flooding into our market. This has been discussed for years and years. What happens when nobody needs our dollars anymore? London's going to issue and create their central bank digital currency pound. In America, we're going to have our central bank digital currency, the dollar. I'm going to call it the Fed coin. It's a nickname I made up years ago. Fed coin. Right? They want to get rid of the U.S. dollar. How long before the U.S. petrodollar falls and cash is dead? They've been trying to kill cash. Well, hell, for well over 20 years, but slowly, incrementally, they're doing it. Right? Cash is, well, that's the currency of prostitutes and drug dealers. That's the currency of crime, right? Only criminals use cash. Well, that's what they want to claim and continue to claim. If that's the case, then what are they paying other banks for, right? What is the United States buying oil with? Well, dollars, right? Those are the same dollars that you and I spend. Just one is a check or a credit card, and the other is, well, handful of paper. What's the difference? Well, they want to get rid of the paper because it can be traded without somebody else knowing about it. That somebody being the government who wants their taxes. This is all about taxes. And this is all about who controls, right, what things are worth. The United States, when the U.S. dollar, Federal Reserve dollar, is the unit of trade internationally, the U.S. has more control over the value or perceived value of things like oil, energy, cars, and human labor. Yeah, that's right, folks, human labor. So if they lose that control, who has it? Right here, the CCP. China gets to start saying what the value of stuff is. Russia gets to start saying what the value of stuff is. It's still comical to me that the European Union, the EU, and the United States of America are going to tell Russia what they're willing to pay for their oil. Right? They're trying to set a price cap on oil and energy coming out of Russia. Russia's like, oh, okay, well, I tell you what, you're not getting that. If you want to tell us what the value of your barrel of oil is, then we're going to tell you how little a barrel of oil is, right? You don't want to pay us what we want for a barrel of oil? Well, you pay us, and then here's your barrel, right? Yeah, it's a little smaller than it used to be. Have some shrinkflation. The stupid continues, folks. The hits just keep on coming. Jolene, who do we have next? Thank you, Bonnie Blue, very much for that terrific super chat donation. And now we got Fishman with a $5 super chat donation. And he says, do you think there will be Nuremberg trials on these jabs? If not, they'll have no reason to stop this tyranny. I don't know if it's going to be Nuremberg trials. Now, if they want to hold someone accountable in international court for the lies that have been told, the violations of human rights, using coercion to force people to accept an experimental, dangerous, ineffective Jim Jones juice. Who are they going to hold accountable? Are they going to hold Trump accountable or Biden accountable? Are they going to hold the CEOs of Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson? Are they going to hold them accountable? Are they going to hold local officials accountable? I think what's going to happen, in all honesty, there needs to be some kind of trial, whether it's public or private, rightly discussed. There needs to be something out there in the world that says this was wrong. What they did was wrong. The product is wrong. It's all a lie. People died. People are hurt. People had their lives destroyed. But I do not believe that anyone is going to hang from a yardarm, hang from a noose, because the government is the one who hangs people from nooses, folks. No one's going to hang. No one's going to get the electric chair. No one's going to go to prison, in my opinion, over this. I think even if they got Dr. Fauci and proved, well, for once and for all, that ultimately he's responsible because his opinion and his lies, right, caused governments to take action, which caused local governments to obey national and federal guidelines, which caused corporations to suck up and bend under pressure from, Joe Biden, who said, my patience is wearing thin, right? Even Dr. Fauci is going to skate on this. They're going to give them amnesty. They're going to say, hey, we all made some mistakes, right? Can't we all just forgive and forget? I don't forgive. I don't forget. But folks, I'm not going to have the opportunity to hold Joe Biden on a leash. I'm not going to have the opportunity to have Anthony Fauci in my presence. I won't have the CEO of Pfizer sitting in front of me making his lies, right, trying to get out of trouble. We don't have those opportunities. Someone may, though. Someone may find out who these CEOs and CFOs and COOs of these corporations are. Someone may know who their local chief of police or city council or county supervisors are that pushed this crap all over everyone. Someone may know who the CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods or Kroger's or any of these companies out here, these woke companies pushing their shit, or these finance corporations. Someone may know exactly who they are and get a little revenge. The same way, folks, that people, when they don't get justice, they seek justice for themselves as vigilantes, right? How about if your child was attacked by one of these perverts in school, or convinced to chop their genitals off, or destroy their lives by taking puberty blockers? I'm surprised more of these people aren't being held accountable. I'm literally surprised by it. If it was my children, folks, being screwed over, right, there could be some problems. In fact, there's one man out there who probably is owed a little bit by me, and he better hope I never see him. No threat, because what I'll probably do is just have a nice discussion with him. And it's not for doing any of the things I've talked about here. Right? There's no sex and perversion as part of it. There's no Jim Jones juice as part of it. There's no theft of money as part of it. It's just someone who needs a good talking to. But woe to the person out there, folks, that pisses off the wrong parent. It's coming. Eventually it's coming. I'm just surprised it hasn't happened more. All right, let's do this. Jolene, have we got some more out there? Yes, we do. It is Mr. Skylight, and he has, thank you very much, Mr. Skylight, his weekly quote. And he says this, quote, nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear, end quote. That was Marcus Aurelius, Roman, folks. And he says, brother, we are the ones that will survive this medical holocaust and rebuild during the renaissance that follows their destruction. So you could read this quote a couple of different ways, and you can come to similar conclusions. Nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear. So by nature, that would be, right, our environment, things within our environment, right? Nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear. We are formed by nature psychologically, folks, first and foremost. The mind is created with the body, right? Before a child can walk or crawl, they're already thinking. They're already developing their personality. It's set, right? And the human animal, just like any other animal, if we want to call them an animal, the human being, it is in their nature to survive. So those who are not apt to survive are the ones who will expire, right? So nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear. So if you cannot bear it, you will not survive it. And so I think Mr. Skylight is correct. And he says, we are the ones that will survive this medical holocaust. How about this government holocaust? How about this energy holocaust? How about this, shall we say, social holocaust, cultural holocaust, traditional, right, holocaust? And there will be a renaissance or a rebirth that follows it. They are the ones who will be destroyed. Rome fell, folks. It took decades for Rome to destroy itself. The information, the knowledge, the wisdom, the intelligence that was gained during Rome did not die with it, folks. What died were the, shall we say, corrupt scum of Rome. The perverted people of Rome. They're the ones that failed and died. And it's the intelligent, the prepared, and those who survive because nature formed them to bear the weight of survival through that time. Every civilization, same story. Not all the information is lost, but what is lost is those who couldn't bear it. And if you're prepared, you can bear a whole lot more than, well, if you're not prepared. These people out here who want to have an absolute chicken shit fit, right? They need to go to a safe space and cry in a room. And if someone says something that hurts their feelings, they're going to call the police, right? They're not fit, folks, to fight their way out of a paper bag. They can't bear anything. They're so weak. That is why, I feel so confident that we, that is those who are prepared, those who are intelligent, those who are logical, those who have cunning and reason here, as well as a desire, right, to live and live freely, will be the ones who survive what happens. The rest of these people have sacrificed themselves psychologically, culturally. They've sacrificed their culture, right? They've sacrificed themselves. They've accepted the Jim Jones juice mark. Wow. Right? What else is going to happen, folks? I don't know, but it's coming, and I am fully prepared. I hope you are fully prepared, and I'm going to do this. We're out of Super Chat donations. I could use a good night's sleep. I think we had a fantastic discussion right here on Sunday Night Live at the Zoo. So I'm going to turn you loose, folks. It is the holiday season. It is the Christmas season. And I pray, folks, that you are in good company, in good spirits, and are well prepared, because chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed to you all. Semper Fi. And thank you for sponsoring this show, contributing to the content, and helping others wake up, get red-pilled to the truth of the matter, what is happening. Spread the word, share that internet address right up there. There's no charge for people. There's no cost. There's no penalty, right, if they want to watch. But there is a cost, and there is a penalty if they choose not to, and to not pay attention to what is happening in this world. I'm glad you're here with me. I'll see you 0 dark 30 first thing in the morning. Oh, that is if you're on the preparedmind.club or subscribestar.com. Those members there get material, get information far more often than everyone else, because you guys are directly sponsoring what's going on. I want to thank you for it. See you soon.